The Metros have been officially eliminated. They were swept in 4 by the Phillies. I didn't watch 3 of the 4 games. I think pretty much after we lost that first game, maybe that second game, I was like, all right, well, there goes our hope. There goes our shot. We're at 71-85. We'll post our worst full season record since 2017, which was 6 years ago. 2017 was just a all around piss poor year for both my New York Football Giants and New York Baseball Mets. One of the worst years in New York sports history, I think. I'm not wrong. Marlins rebounded from their series loss. The Mets take 2 of 3 from the first place Brewers to stay connected in the wild card race at 81-75. They're just a game behind the Cubs for the final wild card. And boy, oh boy. And I know not a lot of people are enthusiastic or excited about this, but the fact that we could spoil that would be pretty sweet justice, swift poetic justice. Of course, it wouldn't have the same oomph as what happened in 2007, but that would be nice. And I know there are not a ton of Marlins fans, but just as a whole, as a general, it'd be nice to stick it to the Marlins franchise because they've been such a goddamn thorn in our side for so long. That I know it's not going to mean a lot, but it'll mean a little. And then we finish out with the Phillies at home. So it's a long ass homestand to end the season. And I know it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean anything, but to win out and sweep those 2 teams would be kind of cool. Probably not going to happen, but it would be kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, one of the most disappointing, I feel like I'm on repeat. I feel like a broken record at this point. I keep saying one of the most disappointing seasons. Like 2022 was a disappointing season. You win 101 games, you don't win the division, you get eliminated in the first round in wild card. Like that's disappointing, especially after the kind of like we played of the 5 or 6 months that are in a regular season. We played 5.5 great months of baseball. Like. But there are a lot of reasons, as players have mentioned in interviews, there's no one reason why we're in this place. There's a litany of reasons. But when you're looking ahead to 2024, you have some pieces that you can feel good about. I know that Lindor wasn't producing when we needed him to in May and June. You could say the same about Alonso coming back too quickly from the wrist injury. McNeil going from batting champion to batting chumpion. Oh, shit. And then, those 3, not having them being as consistently productive as they were last season really, really hurt us. But that's our core. Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo. That's our core 4. Hate to borrow a Yankees term, but those are really the 4 players that we have locked up, or that we'd like to have locked up long term, that we feel the best about, that are essentially the core of the team, the spinal cord of the team, the meat, the bulk, skeleton. That's what they are holding up the structure, the foundation there. So I haven't lost. I think of those 4, I've lost the most faith in McNeil. I know he's finished strong, but. It's just like, dude, you need to get a little more consistent, please. Just a little more consistent. You got to feel good about Kodai Senga. He hasn't allowed more than 3 runs in a game since June. He lowered his walk rate from 14.3% of batters in his first dozen starts to 8.6% since. So I think he's really found a groove. The big question that everyone's asking about him is do we continue with this extra day of rest strategy plan, or can we just do like the Americans do and he'll start every 5th day? Can we do that? I'd like to see them try, because I don't think we're going to find enough answers in the starting rotation to make up for that lost day. So I'm pretty pleased with cherry on top. Let's just try it out. Francisco Alvarez, another bright spot. 23 home runs, most by Mets catcher since Piazza, one of 4 players this season to hit multiple game-tying home runs in the 9th inning, and he ranks 4th among all catchers in runs saved by framing, which was, we kind of had a suspicion about the offense, right? His ability to slug But, after watching him last year and then the beginning of this year, it was like, defensively, is he just lazy? What's going on? And so for him to really step up that part of his game was good to see. Kind of fell not off a cliff, but he was scorching hot in July, and then kind of came back down to earth in August, and is holding his own in September. Ronnie Mauricio is probably the guy I'm most excited about. September call up, people were begging and beckoning for him to come up during the season, when Brett Beatty was struggling, when Escobar was struggling. It's just we were itching and scratching to get this guy up at the major league level, and he has not disappointed, not one damn bit. And it's not a situation where he has like that big first hit and it's magical and it's memorable, and then just nothing. He didn't peter out. Maybe he evened out a little bit, but guy who hits the tar off the ball, just the bust some seams up to this bitch. And defensively, they played him at third, even though he's never really played there before, and he looked shaky defensively, not great. But he's historically a shortstop / second baseman. So the big question around him: will they find a position for him? Where do they play him next year? I would be super steamed if they don't have him on the 40-man roster, the active roster, from day one, opening day. If he's not an opening day starter next season, I don't know. So, and maybe it's the fact that if he can't play at third, then does he become a trade candidate? Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos are the other two baby Mets. I hate saying that, but baby Mets that showed some flashes this year. Beatty off to a hot start and cooled off real bad. Vientos never really got on track until September-ish, really. But defensively, still not a guy that you'd want out in the field. But at least offensively, maybe that's the DH you're looking for. He's starting to actually launch the ball and hitting a bunch of ding-dongs. So you'd have to think that to get to where we're going ahead of schedule, because I don't believe Epler and Cohen when they say, oh, well, 2025 and 2026. Those are the years we're going to seriously contend. It's like, that's a smokescreen. I honestly think can't see them sitting on their hands on 2024. They just can't. And so I think that's why we're not going to be the fact that we did what we did and sold at the trade deadline, got so many prospects back, allows Epler and now David Stearns, who we'll get to wheel and deal these guys that are, for the most part, major league ready, just not here because either there's no position for them or they're just a liability on defense. So I think he could probably, we can dangle Beatty and or Vientos to get someone in the mix to fill out this roster. Ultimately, though, you can see that when the offense is cooking, man, it is good. It is good cooking. It is tasty. And when they're not, and that's, I guess there just weren't enough bats. Whereas last year, I think the differences are if Alonso, Lindor, McNeil, and Nimmo are cold, Canna's stepping up. Marte's stepping up. Escobar is stepping up. Someone else is stepping up and filling the need to produce. So that just didn't happen this year. If Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, and Nimmo are cold, there was like no one else pretty much that was able to step up. Canna, ever since getting traded to the Brewers, is like on a tear and putting up some really amazing numbers. It's like, well, if he put up those numbers with the Mets, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in probably. But that's not to put the 100% of the blame on him.